Okay, we are all set to go. For anybody watching, if you guys can let me know if you guys can hear me okay, see me okay. So far, I haven't gotten this right yet, but maybe today will be the day. It'll be just crystal clear. Just let me know. So yeah, thanks again for joining. Sourcing Saturdays every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern here in the Scan Unlimited Facebook group. So today's topic is going to be a more of an advanced topic. It's going to be about buy box strategies. So essentially, how I position myself to win the buy box more often. And honestly, I say it's advanced because it's kind of a very creative process. It's not exactly, you run this line of code and all of a sudden you're the buy box every time. That would be pretty crazy. But no, this is more of like business decisions that I make in order to maximize my time in the buy box. So that is what today's stream is going to be about. We'll spend about maybe 30 minutes talking about the buy box and the buy box strategies. And then if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and just make a comment below. And towards the end, or maybe in the middle of the live stream, I'll go ahead and try and answer anything you guys have. So let's see. I guess the first thing that we should go over, and by the way, usually I'm showing my screen, and today it's really just going to be me and you, because there's not too much I can show you. I will show you a bit in regards to maybe looking at historical data, maybe also looking at some calculations, because that can play a part in the whole thing. But we're going to make this kind of casual. So the first thing I think we should go over is essentially what does Amazon use in order to figure out who's in the buy box position. And for those that are not sure of the buy box position, I'm going to quickly switch over to my screen. Of course, I have to ask for or give permission. That is annoying. Sorry guys, 1 second. My computer recently updated and it's asking me for permission for everything. Hopefully that fixes it. Well, you see my background, but that is not the screen. Maybe this one? That is not my screen. Okay, for some reason you guys can only see my background. Let me try this. No. All right. Well, I'm sorry about that, guys. I guess it really is going to be very casual, just me and you, because I can't apparently show any of my applications. Just my background. Very odd. All right. So I'll try and do my best to explain it. So basically, when it comes to the buy box, Amazon is typically, I actually made a video about this like over a year ago, but typically Amazon is looking at three main factors, and one of them is way more important than the rest. The first one is going to be pricing. So how competitive your price is compared to other sellers. Next is going to be your fulfillment method. So that means whether you are FBA or, and that can actually get kind of complicated because you can either have small and light FBA, you can have regular FBA, you can have maybe, then you get into the merchant fulfilled stuff, seller fulfilled prime, and then you have regular merchant fulfilled. So there's actually many ways to fulfill an order, and Amazon kind of ranks them with FBA, regular FBA at the very, very top, and then regular merchant fulfillment at the very bottom. So just keep that in mind. So that's kind of like number 2 in priority, below price. And then the last one is going to be your, I honestly used to say feedback count and rating, but I'm starting to think that it might be a little bit more than that. It might also include, one second, I think I actually just fixed the whole screen thing. Maybe, let's see. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. Nice. All right, cool. So we can do screen sharing now. Awesome. So yeah, like I was saying, I used to think that it was simply the feedback count as well as rating, but I've noticed that just like, I guess, account age plays a part as well. But I guess it kind of goes back and forth because you can't really, it's kind of like both, because usually an account that's really, really old has a really high feedback count. So that's why it's not so easy to determine whether it was because it was an old account or if it was that they have a high feedback. I've kind of noticed that. So those are the 3 things. And that last one about how old the account is and your feedback count, I find it to be pretty much negligible. I've seen accounts with 100 feedback count and they're in the buy box position. So I really feel like it's something that Amazon just kind of puts into their algorithm to decide who goes in the buy box, but it's really has a small weight to it. So we need to be focusing on price as well as the fulfillment method. And it's not always about being the best fulfillment method. And it's not always about being the best price. And hopefully I can find some examples about this. For anyone that's joined, I said in the beginning of the live stream that if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop it in the comments and I will try and get to them and answer them. Sorry, I'm just arranging my screen so I can start to share some things with you guys at the same time. So, I guess, let's see, where can we start with this? I kind of wanted to start with like elementary, like the elementary level, and then kind of build my way up because I don't want to lose anybody. I'll do my best. Again, ask questions. I think that's the best way to learn, is if you ask questions, and then this way I know that I'm not getting to something where a little bit too advanced of a topic and then nobody knows what the heck I'm talking about. But yeah, let me know. So let's talk about like price, because really that is the most important aspect of winning the buy box. So we want to make sure that you have a price that's competitive. And let's try and look at some offers for some products on Amazon right now to see like what the price would have to be for you to be considered competitive in certain situations. So let me go ahead and switch back to my screen. Okay, so this is an item I pulled up, and let's jump over to the offers tab. And I see that at the, why did they start changing this? Sorry, I guess I'm old school. I've been on Amazon way too long. They changed this and like throws me off. So I see that Amazon's in the buy box position at $23.27, and then the next person is $26.99, but they are merchant fulfilled, so ships from the seller account, sold by the seller account. So in this case, let's kind of go down like the tiering like the tier system. So number one, price. So if you're going to compete on this item, you would have to be at least 23, 27 in order to take the buy box. Now, this is a special example with Amazon, and Amazon, even though you beat them on price and you have the highest fulfillment method possible that I mentioned in terms of priority, so in this case, regular FBA, and you also have a pretty decent feedback rating. If you just matched Amazon's price, their algorithm would give you, from my experience, 0% time in the buy box. So we have to kind of come up with a solution to how to like approach this. So for one, right off the bat is when you're doing your sourcing. So let's say you run a scan inside of Scan Unlimited and you see that this item is not profitable at this price, which we bring in Scan Unlimited, we bring in the buy box price, and it's not profitable at that price, then I pretty much have to say that you're guaranteed to lose in that situation if you had to list it that day. Because, I mean, since price is the number one thing that you should be looking at, you're not going to be able to overthrow Amazon's price because you just don't have any wiggle room at that point. And so that is something to consider. And towards later on in the video, we'll talk about maybe some advanced strategies to try and overthrow Amazon as the buy box winner. Granted, overthrow might be a little bit of an exaggeration, that I've never seen that happen, but there are some ways to maybe plan or make your way into the buy box sometimes. So let's see, I'm going to switch over to another product. Let's choose some Funko items. Now Amazon's on here as well. Let's try maybe this one. Actually, I guess I have it sorted by rank, so I'm going to get a lot of Amazon, a lot of listings that have Amazon on it. Here we go. Okay, so let's look at the offers on this listing. So in this situation, I see that the buy box winner is this seller here, so a third-party seller, and their fulfillment method is FBA. So when trying to figure out what price or what you would need to do to get the buy box, you would need to be 12.16 at least. If you had the FBA fulfillment method, and I guess that's another factor that I didn't bring up is stock, because I see that they only have 10 in stock. If you have like a very, very large amount of stock, I've noticed that even if you match the price of another FBA seller, you'll get the buy box most of the time, because essentially Amazon kind of has, I guess, some algorithm that wants to distribute the load of purchases to the sellers that have more inventory, because otherwise you would have, if you think about it, you would have a lot of sellers that would drop out, like they would sell out and then they wouldn't be on the offers listings, right, on the list of offers here. So in that situation, then the price would start to creep up, because Amazon knows that everybody's using a repricer and the price is just going to start to creep its way up towards the top. So they tend to give more buy box time to people that have a lot more quantity in stock at FBA. So I guess that is another thing I did forget to mention in terms of how they prioritize. So in this case, if you did have, let's say you had, I'd say a few hundred of these in stock, and you match this person's price, then you probably would see a lot of buy box time. But even if you had a lot in stock, if you were only like a few pennies above this person, you would basically get no buy box time. So I brought up the stock thing as like just one of the factors, but keep in mind that that's not going to you can't just buy your way into the buy box. Let's just put it that way. You need to first and foremost be competitive with price, and if that means that's basically the most important thing to do. So what are some ways that you could essentially, I guess the key thing is then if we have to fix the first problem, which is price. So first, you could try and get a better cost than your competitor. So whatever the offers are going for, if you know that you can get a discount from the manufacturer, or you have some other method of saving money. So for example, some sellers will ship directly from their supplier into FBA. So then you can save on freight with your supplier. Another thing I like to do, because I do that sometimes as well, is you can also negotiate. So for example, let's say the supplier offers free freight, right? So then it's not really much of a benefit to ship directly. I mean, I guess time is one thing, but the reality is you haven't saved any dollar amount, because you were going to get it free anyway, free freight to your facility. And then when you ship it to FBA, you would pay for the freight just like you would pay from the supplier. But you can negotiate with the supplier and say that, okay, well, how about this? Instead of giving me free freight, give me a percentage discount and I will pay for the freight myself. And then you ship it directly to FBA. I've done that before. And that's actually a really good way to save lots of money, actually. You just have to find a supplier and have a relationship with the supplier so that you can get that done. Because remember, if you ship directly from a supplier, you're going to need to, they're going to need to do all of the processing. So if there needs to be FBA labels, they have to put them on. If there's any kind of special prep work, they're going to have to do that. So I don't recommend just opening an account with a supplier and then saying, hey, you're going to ship my things to Amazon, or else. Yeah, it's not going to work for you. So you need to build a relationship with your suppliers, and that can be an option. Definitely not common, though. I don't do it with many of my suppliers because they just don't operate that way. And so you have to kind of work with the limitations that you're given. Let's see. Another in terms of price, something that I used to do a lot, and I still do from time to time, is let me switch back to me. Hi. Something that I do is, let's say, for example, you get a supplier, like a product list from your supplier. And I don't know if I have one where I also had quantity. I'm sure if you've used Scan Unlimited before and you've uploaded a file, you've noticed that sometimes the supplier will put like a column that says like quantity available. And a lot of times if they do that, then they'll oftentimes put when it will be due in. So they're back ordered at the moment. And then you can see like, oh, well, they have this many right now, and they'll have this many in this many days or in months, and that's pretty much it. So something I recognized when I was like not first starting out, but a few years ago, was okay, well, if I have that information and I can figure out the rank, like I'm using scan software, of course I use my own, then you can see like, okay, here are the ranks, here are the ROIs, here's what's available right now, here's when they'll get more, and then I can start to estimate like, okay, if it's profitable right now, and based on the rank, I see that there's only going to be, let's say based on the rank, let's say something's selling like 1,000 units per month, right? And I look at the offers, it's profitable because there aren't that many sellers, and I check their stock and there's not that much stock. You can check their stock just by adding the products to the cart. Then you can start to think, okay, well, how much do they have available? Let's say they only have 1,000 in stock. And they also say that they'll get some more in 3 months. Well, start to do the math, right? If you think that something will sell 1,000 units per month, and you have, and they only have 1,000 in stock, and you don't see much in stock on Amazon, then if you purchased all of that, say 1,000 units, then you would essentially, you're almost guaranteeing a shortage. Now, I will say this is an advanced topic, and like I definitely do not suggest people that are beginner Amazon sellers or even intermediate. I'm not kidding right now. You need to be an advanced Amazon seller to pull that off. Just a disclaimer, but that is a method that I used many years ago and I still use today. But you need, again, back to the right supplier, because, for example, not every supplier will tell you how much they have in stock. And if they do tell you how much they have in stock, they might not tell you when they get more. So you need to have a proper relationship with them. And also you have to have kind of maybe a personality to deal with that amount of risk, because if you do it wrong, you're going to have a lot of inventory just sitting around. And I've had my fair share of situations where I've had inventory in my warehouse for 2 years because I did not calculate it correctly, or maybe I mistimed it, right? I didn't consider the fact that maybe a seller had purchased a large amount right before me, so it made the quantity look much lower. So therefore I thought there was going to be a shortage, and bam. Oh, sorry, I hit my mic. So you might be wondering like why I'm bringing this up. Of course, if the buy box is if the buy box, the main reason you would get the buy box is price, and you create a shortage because you purchased the inventory and you did your calculation and figured out that if you did that, there would be less competitors on that buy box, then you know that the price goes up. It's simple supply and demand. It's not exactly like, I guess, that advanced, but it's advanced to do it right, because you do it right, you make a lot of money and you make a lot of sales. Do it wrong, you lose a lot of money. So I'm just saying, like, that's definitely an advanced strategy that you can try and implement if you have the right information and you do all the homework, and you're willing to take that risk. So that's pretty good information right there. I don't know if I've heard anybody talk about that strategy on the internet. Let's see. Still no questions. Why no questions? All right, I'll just keep going. Another idea with getting the buy box. And by the way, about the cornering, like I call that corner the market. That's like, I guess, basically what you're doing with a specific ASIN. Something to look out for. One is if the supplier you're buying from is not aggressively protecting their IP. You might have a situation where you did, in theory, corner the market, but there are counterfeiters that might jump on that listing, pushing the price down. And so, unless you're there willing to police the listing, I would just avoid that whole thing altogether. You need to be able to know that, like, when you buy something out, that there isn't going to be like a million counterfeiters that are just going to jump in and like ruin the listing, and you're there legitimately purchasing from like the actual supplier, the manufacturer, and then you'll just basically maybe you might be sitting there for a while, and again, in that time period, maybe the supplier gets more inventory, right? So there's a lot of factors in play, but maybe it'll just kind of get you thinking about different ways to get the buy box. And even when the buy box, for example, let's say when you first do a scan, it shows that it's negative. That method of buying out the inventory can essentially create like a you create a shortage, so now you have that increase in the price. So you could actually turn something that's negative, or that in a situation where you cannot win the buy box, to a situation where you can win the buy box all of a sudden. So that is definitely a really good strategy that you can implement. Another one is seasonality. I kind of went over this last time, or last live stream. Let me see if I can find something to show you guys. I think I was doing Melissa and Doug, and because they're typically pretty seasonal. Yeah, this is not a bad example. Let me share my screen. So basically we're going to focus on the Keepa chart. So one idea is, let's pretend that $23.27 is not a competitive, or you cannot be competitive at that price. So in that situation, you would usually walk away. But one idea is to kind of look at the history of the item. If you think that this item is seasonal, which this item very much is, then you might be able to kind of predict where the price will be, and maybe at that price you would be competitive. So for example, right now it is today is November 30th 2019, so we are in the middle of the holidays. Q4 is going strong, and so right here I see that I think there was a sale on the item. It was selling for $17 on the 19th of November. Got up to rank 1 in toys, so extremely popular item. And of course, this is going to happen during the holidays. You can see for the rest of the year, right now the range of the graph is 1 year. For the rest of the year, it's not very popular. Well, I mean, it is pretty popular, but nothing like it is during the holidays. Stream cut. Interesting. Let's see. Looks like we disconnected for some reason. That's odd. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Okay, it's back. Great. Okay. So what I was trying to get at is that during the holidays, this item is much more popular. So you can kind of leverage the fact that it's seasonal, and kind of predict where the price would be. So let's take a look at last year. You can see that during the December period, if I zoom into December of last year, you can see that it was at $22.50, and Amazon actually ran out during this time period, December 9th. There was a few days where they were coming back, but overall the price started getting much higher. Some FBA sellers going up as high as $90 during that time period. So yeah, like that is very likely actually to happen again. If I zoom out to the a very long range, I see again December of 2017 they ran out. I'm talking about Amazon, and the price was really high. So that is another way to kind of position yourself in the buy box. It's simply by waiting, believe it or not. You're kind of anticipating that, you know, that historically Amazon or whoever is the competitor will run out. Then you can kind of sit in the buy box, or sit in the offers listings, and just wait for the opportunity, so that when it does sell out, you'll be there and you'll be able to sell at a profitable number. And so that's a very common buy box strategy I use. Especially if I have the inventory already, like I haven't sourced it yet, I'll often just think, okay, well, we're getting to that period where seasonally or historically people run out. That's a really good opportunity to just kind of take a chance, send it into FBA, because it's better than just sitting in your warehouse or your house if you're working from your house, and like take a chance and see if you can sell it during that time period, because historically in the middle of the year doesn't look like that's ever going to happen. Like it's just stuck at $27, and if you can't sell the item at $27, then you're never going to sell it during this time period. It looks like they're pretty much in stock all year long, and they only have a hard time staying in stock during the December time period. So another really good buy box winning strategy. Seasonality of an item, taking advantage of the seasonality of an item. All right. So those are the two buy box strategies I was going to mention. There's two more, but I see that we've run out of time. We can maybe I'll make another live stream next week about it. And I also see that we don't have any questions in the live stream. Hopefully more viewers will take advantage of this information, because to me, I haven't even seen anybody discuss even slightly what I just said during these 30 minutes. And the fact that this video will probably go unviewed for a bit is pretty silly, because people are paying thousands of dollars for courses. But anyway, next week, next week, let's see, that would be, what day is that? The 7th of December. So on the 7th of December, 2 p.m. Eastern, Sourcing Saturdays. Well, I don't have a topic just yet, but like I said, probably continue on with the buy box. The buy box strategies, different ideas on how to get the buy box, and hopefully a Q&A during that session. But for those that joined us, thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a good weekend.